Good evening. Welcome to the Wareham Conservation Commission meeting of April 19th, 2023. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting. Please. Thank you. We'll hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and/or the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6 and any other applicable laws on Wednesday, April 19th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. All matters listed may involve a discussion and possible vote. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authority of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetland Protection Bylaw Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. And please, roll call. I'll start with Jessica.
Jessica Parr.
Denise Schultz.
Sandy Slavin.
Michael Mercier.
Kwame Barty.
Autumn Wood.
Joshua Faraday.
Thank you. Kwame, first hearing, please.
Okay, do you want me to read the whole public notice?
No, just the section where it talks about what the hearing's for.
Okay, that's a request for a determination of applicability for Warren Pine at 7 Nobska Way, Wareham, Mass. 264 Cremisa Road, Wareham, to apply sand for beach nourishment above the mean high water 12 yards.
Yes. Is there anybody here who wants to represent this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, Warren Pine, owner of 7 Nobska and 264 Cremisa Road.
Okay. Please describe the project for us.
Beach nourishment to replace the sand that was eroded mostly after the storm in December that was. It took out a sizable chunk of the coastal bank, lowered the whole profile of that beach also, and just an ongoing effort to, maintain that piece of property and protect the bank. We did beach nourishment, got approved for it last spring, about the same time, and put 12 yards of sand, grain size matched, that we got from Highway Concrete. And that lasted, I didn't think it would last through the entire season, but we didn't get any big storms, so I was quite hopeful. But then that December storm took that away, plus a probable additional 1.5 feet of the bank. So I'm looking to replace that sand again. I understand it's sacrificial, not going to last, but at least the sacrificial sand goes and less of the bank. Any questions?
And Josh, comments, please.
Yep. So me and Mr. Pine did have a conversation about the sand being sacrificial. We had a discussion about ways to mitigate the loss of the bank, having natural plants there. And there's also a project in Falmouth that I described to Mr. Pine that I'm currently trying to get more information on that will be a better solution than just sacrificing sand every year. So like he said, this is a project that you guys had approved in the past, and I have no other issues with it other than it's probably not the best continuing process. There are possibly better things to do than sacrificing sand every year.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Nope, go ahead.
Is it appropriate for me to respond and just bring up another point?
Yeah, I guess.
Kind of
Yes.
open?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't have these pictures, Josh, but this was at the time, or I hadn't seen them, hadn't shown them to you in quite a while. That was Lee Wisher from Woods Hole Group, coastal geologist, analyzed the bank at the time. And if you remember, may I approach?
Yeah, please do.
If you remember, that little post right there is now eroded behind it. So you can see all the grass in front of it is gone. So it's taking more than sand, it's taking the grass.
Oh, I would agree with
Which at the
that.
time was established and was stable after my initial efforts after Hurricane Bob. And then he said, okay, from what you did, it looks stable, but, you know, the water's rising, the storms are getting more severe, and it's taking more bank. So I just wanted to share that.
No, I appreciate
But I
that.
do understand, and I do want to talk with you further about the other issues, or
Yeah, there's other solutions that we can definitely,
it will
talk
take,
about.
my point is, it will take vegetation.
yeah, I would agree with that. Or some type of hard structure that it seems like you want to avoid, so.
Yeah.
There are other options other than those two.
Okay, thank you.
Questions? Jessica?
No questions.
Denise?
No questions.
Kwame?
Oh.
I'm jumping.
You jumped.
Surprise, surprise.
I'll take it. So I have one question, maybe I'm just naive, but why wait so long? You could have done it like during the last year or the fall, or?
We did it last spring.
Oh, you did it last
and-
spring?
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
remember.
And it lasted all through the summer, which was really impressed, and then all the way through the fall. And it wasn't until that December storm that it just took out
Washed
a
it away
large
again.
chunk, more than ever, or more than since Hurricane Bob.
So this is going to be maybe a yearly thing.
Unfortunately, yeah, with the way that the weather patterns seem to be developing in the tides.
Thank you.
Michael?
No questions.
Autumn?
Hi, I do have a question. We went on a site visit and I noticed that the pathway down to the beach is a little bit in disrepair. Would you have plans to put that back together when your beach is?
Yeah, since the storm, we haven't touched it, you know, as far as trying to do anything until we talked to this body and figured things out. But yes.
Thank you.
So I was able to retrieve my pictures from a year ago and compare them to my pictures from this weekend. And you did lose a lot of that banking where that post is. You also lost that stone wall that you had there. Are the stones on the beach now are all from the wall, or have they been added?
They're there, yeah,
All from the wall?
all from the wall, yeah. Kind of pulled them down.
Yeah, and as Autumn mentioned, the steps that you use to get down to the beach are now laying on the beach because there's no place else to put them. You're looking for 12 yards.
I would love to be able to do more because the bank needs to be, you know, 1.5 feet needs to be restored now to get it even back to where it was. And I would think that would take almost 12 yards, never mind the rest of the
Yeah, I mean-
beach, and the tie-in with the blonding groin, which the erosion is now behind her groin, if you
Yes,
noted.
yes. Now, even putting sand there, will you save the banking? I don't think so. Because that sand will just be the first to wash away without any resistance. Have you considered putting in some type of seawall?
I did, and I was permitted for that years ago, but I don't, and I had to go through a lot to get that with Lee Wisher and prove that it was appropriate. But a neighbor warned me that somebody was going to sue if I did that, because they were going to fall down the wall and sue. And so I got pretty aggravated and
Because
dropped
something
it.
more permanent than sand, a pile of sand, is not going to save your
I'm
banking.
kind of glad that I didn't do the wall because of hard revetment, because I think they're ugly, and they restrict people's use and mobility over that bank.
Okay, so you know the same type of drill, make sure you have the light sand, like sand, have it tested and whatever, but is there anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on this project? Is there anybody online? I'm expecting one person, do you have any, is there any, yes?
Does somebody
Diane.
does somebody have their hand up?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Diane, yeah. Josh, you let her in?
I will try, yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm new.
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
we can.
Okay. The gentleman that Warren is referring to was Richard Sinnott, who has passed away about 10 years ago. He has the property behind the Pine Lot. His son is now there. There is nobody in that house now that would object to him putting a wall in. In terms of other people stumbling on it or it being an impairment for them, that's not an issue because it's his property and it's private property. And my husband and I, at the time, were very supportive of him putting a wall in, and it just never happened.
Okay, Diane, anything on the, anything on the request right now for the 12 yards of sand?
No, I mean, this is just a very temporary solution, just like it was last year. And as Warren pointed out, the storms are getting worse. The tides are getting higher. The sand is not going to hold the darn thing. The only thing that will hold it, I think you can all agree upon, is either vegetation or stone, a seawall.
Okay,
And I just want to be sure, again, that we don't put the sand on the right-of-way, because that is a right-of-way for the subdivision, and it has nothing to do with Warren's property.
okay, thank you. Anybody else? There is a lot of stone that came in off of that wall. Will you be picking up and removing it from the beach and putting it back in the wall?
I anticipate so. I hadn't thought about it,
Well-
but I can.
It might help the banking that was behind the wall,
Sure.
where those roots are now being exposed, which means you're going to easily lose that tree.
Makes sense.
Just something to consider.
Yes.
Anybody else? If not,
I would request that we are able to use rubber-wheeled vehicles, because moving that sand by hand last year was quite difficult, laborious, and most other beach nourishments, Little Harbor, Onset, wherever, they use, bobcats, rubber-wheeled vehicles to move sand around.
will you be
or
moving
giant-
down your property or the right-of-way?
I wouldn't be able to go down my property because
No.
now there's a drop-off,
Yep.
so it would be the right-of-way.
Any comments on using a mechanical?
No, I wouldn't have any, I wouldn't have any concerns about the use of a rubber-wheeled vehicle.
And we're looking at a -2.
Correct.
This is an RDA. Anybody like to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a motion to close the hearing and second. All in favor?
Aye.
500.
5 of us.
Yeah, there's 5 of us.
Move to accept the RDA with a -2.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Okey dokey, you got it.
Thank you.
See Josh before you start any work for the paperwork.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thank you. You too.
Next one, please.
Okay, this is a request of a determination of applicability for Michelle Jocelyn, 35 Walking Cove Avenue, Wareham, Mass. 02571, for the construction of a dock above an existing concrete patio located on Assessors Map 50A, Lot 2235,
And I
Walking Cove
believe
Avenue,
that's a
Wareham, Mass.
deck. Not a dock, a deck.
Oh, I said dock? Oh, excuse me. For the
And,
construction of a deck above an existing concrete patio located on Assessors Map 50A, Lot 2235, Wagon Cove Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
Now, for those how many remember a debate as to how to pronounce and spell Wonkinko?
Oh.
But,
Wonkinko.
I had a
sorry.
difficult time thinking how to pronounce that myself. When
yes.
a neighbor asked me,
There's a cue there.
all right,
Is there anybody here representing this project like to come forward and talk and discuss this project with us?
Yep, he's available via Zoom.
Yes,
Okay.
this is Richard Roy, the contractor. Good evening.
Richard, your last name again?
Roy, R-O-Y.
Thank you, I didn't quite hear it. Okay, Richard, talk to us about the project.
Well, right now, she had mostly used the house, like half the year, and it has a smaller deck, a 10 by 12 deck, and the stairs take up a majority of the patio and the view to the beach. So she wanted a larger deck on the second floor where, she could spend more time looking at the water and, she just wants to make the deck a little bigger. Our only concern was just that we wanted the stairs out of the way so it doesn't block the view from the first floor. There's a sliding glass door there from the first floor onto the patio. The existing patio is like 18 by 40 almost. We're just coming off the house 10 feet by 21. And then the stairs will run down the right side of the property up against the house. Still, I think it's 11 feet almost away from the property line. So we made that by a foot as well. We won't be disturbing much at all. The only thing, like I say, we'd have to, just do the footing right on the existing patio, so nothing else will get disturbed.
Okay, thank you. Josh, your comments, please.
I have no other comments, just this project is proposed above an already altered area, so I don't see any issue with it.
Negative
-2.
2. Questions on the board? I'm going to start with Michael.
no questions?
Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Jessica,
No questions.
Denise,
No questions.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
I have no questions or comments. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to talk to us on this project? Anybody online? Raise your hand so Josh will let you in.
I'm seeing none.
Okay,
Move to close the hearing.
Second?
I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept the RDA with a -2.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the vote is 500. So, Richard, don't start the work until you get the paperwork from Josh, okay?
Yes, dear. Thank you very much.
Next one, please.
Okay, this is a request for determination of applicability for Mohammed A. Peraz, 112 Manderfield Street, Matfield Street, West Bridgewater, Mass. 02379, to construct a single-family dwelling located on Assessors Map 127, Lot 1006, 274 Glen Charlie Road, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Is there anybody here representing this project? Please come forward and identify yourself.
Mohammed Parvaz.
Okay. Please describe the work.
I just built in a lot that's been vacant for a long time. For the last 2 years, I was trying to acquire it, finally did, thank God. And I'd like to build a small house, downsizing and moving into Wareham. And just here to everybody's approval.
Okay. I have to admit, went by that driveway several times till I finally saw it.
Took me like
It's
3.
very small, it's like a postage stamp.
Yes. But thank you for clearing a space off of Glen Charlie, because I don't like parking on Glen Charlie. Josh, your comments, please.
Sure, I just have a few comments about the project. The existing foundation that will be removed in order to put in a new foundation. Okay, I've had a lot of concern about the runoff of the property. Can you assure that the runoff will stay on the property and not affect your neighbors? with the grading of the new dwelling.
Yes, I spoke with Mr. Zioli. I think he's satisfied.
Okay. Something that the commission does like to see is dry wells for roof runoff. Is that something that you have in your proposal, or no?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Okay, perfect. Other than that, I see no issues with the project.
-2, 3, 2. Questions? Denise?
No questions.
Jessica?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
No questions, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Move to close the hearing?
Wait.
What?
I think you skipped
I
Sandy.
do like
Oh.
that view, that raised view looking down onto the pond. But that would be a very nice spot.
It is a beautiful spot. That's the main reason I bought it. It's just me and 2 boys, and he's into freshwater fishing, and he's gonna enjoy the canoe. So it's gonna be a nice spot for retirement, I think.
Will you be coming to us for an access to that pond?
I don't think we need access for the canoe. It's already got a path there, it seems like.
I don't remember, okay, so that you're not going to ask us to enhance whatever path is existing?
Not today.
Yeah, well, not today, okay. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to this project? Anybody online? Raise your hand.
Oh, there's somebody here.
Sorry, come forward and identify yourself.
My name is Anthony Zioli. I'm the direct abutter to this lot. I have no objections to it. My concerns were water runoff, because this lot is slightly elevated higher than my lot. I've talked with the gentleman that wants to build, and I've talked to the conservation, and it seems that my area of concerns have been answered, so I'm very satisfied
Okay.
with what this board would determine.
What type of driveway will you be putting in?
Well, I wanted to do a regular natural driveway, and that's what I start off as, because I really don't like asphalt. But if I have to, after a couple of down here, if it doesn't stay, then I'll probably go with
Okay.
it.
Just asking, because it's outside of what we can consider, I was just asking. So you can put your asphalt as long as inspection services approves it, so you don't have to come back to us to pave your driveway.
Okay.
You're outside of what we can consider.
Yeah, but I wanted to leave it natural, but
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, you know?
Until
But
you.
I have to do.
Until you use a snowplow once and all the stone gets piled up in the corner, then you'll be back here saying, changing your mind.
Yeah, 'cause right now I have a driveway, it's like 400 feet long, so I'm downsizing, so it's just-
Okay. I did ask if there's anybody, I did, didn't I? Yes, I did. Okay, now you can.
Now, move to close the hearing.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
500, hearing's closed.
Move to accept the project with a -2.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, approved 500. Please see Mr. Flaherty before you start any of your work, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you. Have a good evening.
Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you.
Okey dokey. Next one, please. Notice of intent, done?
Yep, give me a second.
37 Oak Street. 37 Oak.
Where's your glasses?
I had a long week, trust me. Okay. It's a request for notice of intent for James and Colleen Dunn.
No.
JF
Next one, above it,
James and Ellen.
37 Oak.
Same first name, different.
Oh, okay. Request for notice of intent for James and Ellen Dunn. This is JC Engineering, 2854 Cranberry Highway, East Wareham, Mass. 02538. To construct 2 additions onto dwelling, reconstruct stairs, plant a variety of trees, shrubs, and grasses, and plant will be reconstructed. Located on Assessors Map 39, Lot T31, 37 Oak Street, Wareham, Mass.
And who's representing this project? Please identify yourself.
Good evening, Brad Bertola with JC Engineering.
Also on Zoom tonight is the landscape architect, Heather Highmark. I will briefly describe the project and turn it over to Heather to discuss the plantings. This project's located at 37 Oak Street, contains a small two-bedroom house and accessed by a driveway that's at the top of the hill by the street. There's a number of existing stairways. There's a deck, balcony, and this property all sits adjacent to Wareham River. There's a couple terraced retaining walls between the structure and the coastal beach area. The client would like to kind of maintain a small cottage feel and constructs two small additions to increase some habitable space to the site. The first addition would be an additional bedroom on the street side, 11 by 17. It's all situated in the location of an existing concrete slab and shed. That shed is kind of built into the bank, so as part of the construction, the retaining wall of the addition will also act as kind of actually the concrete wall of the addition will act as a retaining wall into the bank. The other small addition is on the water side. It's a 3 by 16 foot addition. This house is kind of upside down. They walk in, they have the bedrooms and a living space on the first floor. The basement area is a bathroom and the kitchen. The purpose of this small little addition on the water side is is to increase some of the dining space in the kitchen area, and then the bedroom right above. As part of this project, there's a number of landscaping features that are also proposed. There's a number of existing concrete walkways on the property. If you visited the site, a number of them most of the walkways are failing or eroding, including the steps that lead down to the coastal beach. So we're proposed to remove all those steps and reconstruct in approximately the same footprint. The walkway across the back of the house, back of the deck, will wrap around the existing deck. The deck itself is proposed to be repaired. It's in disrepair at this time, and the whole purpose of this is to kind of clean up the accessibility around the site for the property owner. The owner has some accessibility issues, and the rises on the steps are all inconsistent. We're going to add some railings to the steps leading down the coastal, I guess we'll call it down the coastal bank, but the bank's kind of terraced. The walls of the coastal bank are also proposed to be repaired, basically just repointed, just to fix the mortar in some of the areas within the stones. It's a stone and mortar wall, pretty much similar to what's in the area here. Again, this is adjacent to coastal bank. It's close proximity. It's not the closest structure, and the neighbor is a lot closer, but we tried to be modest with the addition and just add as much as necessary. Pretty much is even with the existing balcony off the back. I'll turn it over to Heather now to discuss the plantings. There are a number of mitigation that's proposed on each terrace, try to add some vegetation.
Okay. Heather, you're up.
Hi, thank you very much for making this hybrid meeting possible. It certainly helped me out. I unfortunately broke my patella a couple weeks ago, so I'm on crutches. So it really is nice to be able to zoom in. So the project, the owners have been in this house for 29 years. You probably saw the big oak that's on the seaward side of the house. that's been a very important tree that they continue to nurse along and steward. And so first and foremost, they don't want to do anything that harms that tree. So, so a lot of what we're doing is trying to reduce the lawn area. The lawns just become too much to mow and maintain. We're reducing it by making sort of informal patio areas, but also just kind of feathering out those flagstones with green joints in areas, putting in salt-tolerant native plants as ground covers and as shrubs. So when you go there today, you would notice that there's a lot of lawn on both terraces, and our hope is that in the end, we will have a really healthy sort of switchgrass and bearberry sort of buffer above the lowest wall, the wall closest to the beach, and then continue that sort of vocabulary up on the upper terrace as well. There is the addition of some, sort of handrails. We would like to raise the wall that's closest to the house like 6 inches, just because it's quite steep. And when you are unfirm on your feet, just even standing at that angle can be a little sort of tiring. And so by raising it, we're reducing the slope a little bit and just making it that much more useful for the extended family to get together and be sort of outside on the ocean side of the house. So we have a variety of, not a lot of trees, but mostly shrubs and perennials and grasses. Yeah, I think that's sort of the main thing I wanted to say. We really want to reduce the maintenance, make it more accessible, and increase the native plants on site. And to, control the overland runoff and reduce any need for chemicals on the site.
Thank you. Josh?
Actually, I'm gonna request that we take like 5 minutes. I'm having issues with my computer, and there are photos that I'd like to share for this hearing and, a lot of other ones tonight. So if we could take like a 5-minute recess, maybe I can try to figure this out.
Well, you do that, we can ask questions around.
We might lose the Zoom
Oh,
when I do this, so that's
All right.
my only concern.
okay.
We'll just log back in if we get booted out.
Perfect.
Brad, can you answer a question? You said that one addition will be an increase in the dining area. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, the lower level, the walkout basement, it's a kitchen and dining area, so the kitchen cabinets are more set into the structure, and the eating area is out closer to the face of the wall.
So what is the second structure? Are you going to build something underneath the deck?
Yeah, so,
I guess I'm confused.
yeah, so on the street side, building level with the main floor of the house. So it'll be just
That's the bedroom,
the bedroom.
yes.
And then on the water side, it's basically 2 stories. So it's basement level, walkout, and then the main floor, which is a bedroom.
Okay,
I
and but the deck itself is supported on concrete pads and stone, right?
The deck,
So,
yeah, that deck has, I believe, a couple posts that hold that little, they're kind of getting rid of that balcony area that's on the water side and building in that same footprint.
but I think if the question's about the existing deck, underneath that deck, we'd like to make it a little bit more usable for storing kayaks and stuff. So there's a little bit of a cleanup job underneath that deck, but it's mostly like crushed stone and then a very small little cheek wall just so that they can store boats there more easily. Right now, it's kind of sloping.
this is the area you're talking about, underneath the deck. Can you see my photos on the computer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to the, like, centered in the picture, just to the right and above that kayak is an original set of concrete steps that they built that deck over. And there's a concrete walkway, we show it on our site plan, that kind of runs underneath that kayak and ties back into the concrete walkway, or it connects, to the water side of the structure.
You can pull up your plan if you want.
So, well, other than putting stone or something underneath it to make it a better storage area, are you doing anything underneath that existing deck? I'm having a tough time picturing the extension.
The extension of the house?
Yeah, the second structure. I know where the bedroom's gonna go.
Right. I do have the architectural, if you pan up a couple.
Sure.
Sandy, she's got it here.
Right there. So I bolded up the proposed addition in bold lines. It's about 3 feet deep, and
Thank you.
it's coming towards the water about 3 feet. Can you see that?
I can see that. So that's where the deck is right now.
That's where the
The wall-
balcony, yeah,
the
little
balcony
tiny
is.
balcony
So
deck,
the
yes.
balcony is going to go away in order to make, I got it.
Yep.
The balcony is going away in order to make space for that.
Addition.
I did not read the plan that way, and I looked at it hard. Okay, Josh, you ready for yours?
Yeah, so a few of the concerns that I had on the property had to do more with the sloping sides and the runoff of the water. I believe there's a few commission members that share these concerns as well. Brad, you did pose, some type of trench drain to catch additional runoff, is that correct?
Yeah, so the front of the structure, street side, the slope comes down into the structure, and they have a concrete patio across the entire front of the structure. Portion of that patio will be removed to construct the addition. The remainder of it is remaining patio area. So we're proposing a small trench drain to kind of capture any surface water runoff that runs down into that, and we'll pipe it around to a dry well that will set on the upper terrace on the back side of the property. I mean, I could look at the size, maybe make it a little bigger and tie a couple gutters. I don't know if this house has gutters at the moment. They're pretty big overhangs all around, like a foot and a half, extended rakes, but I don't believe there were any gutters.
I didn't remember seeing gutters.
Yeah.
I don't think I have any good enough photos that, I don't see any gutters.
Yeah.
No. So I think runoff is one of the big concerns about this property because the slope is so great, especially where it runs down to the water. And then I think another concern, which I think you are proposing to deal with in some regard, would be the seawall, especially the footing of the seawall. I don't know if it was just the last storm or if it's, been in disrepair for quite a while, but it is appearing to be undermined. But other than that, those are a few of the concerns that I have.
Well, fortunately, the structure itself, the majority of the structure is situated on a concrete pad, so there shouldn't be any increase in surface water runoff from the additions. And we're trying to eliminate a majority of the grass and add plantings. So there'll be some planting beds that should capture, some surface water runoff from each, stepping stone patio area that is proposed. So I think the runoff is minimal.
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's terraced, so it's pretty level. It's not a steep slope where you would think you'd have a lot of velocity runoff. It should be very slow runoff.
I'm all set.
Okay. Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Michael,
Josh already captured my concerns with the runoff, so I'm good, thank you.
Denise.
The no activity zone doesn't come into this play at all, correct?
It's all disturbed.
It's all disturbed.
Yeah.
How much of the grass area or the pervious area would be losing to become impervious patio?
I think it's probably in the ballpark of like 50% patio and then 50% kind of the landscaping beds. And as part of the patio, it's loose, so it's got either green joints or open joints where, you know, some infiltration will still take place. We're not proposing like a...
I guess the concern
Be better
is
off.
still with the runoff.
Yep.
If it comes down now and it's going into two grassy areas, coming down now and going into impervious area is going to be an issue.
Well, I did think about this when I spoke to the architect. This dry well that I'm proposing, it is shown on that plan, it's kind of in that mulched area. I could look at doing either additional ones where I could have a grate at the surface, so any surface water that's kind of like, maybe we could have just minor grading, so it's a low spot where we'll just infiltrate that runoff coming in the patio area. Right now, I have it situated so that the trench drain that's being proposed, you might want to go to the site plan from us.
Yeah. Let's see. I
Oh,
think-
it's
yeah,
up.
it is up,
Oh.
sorry.
Yeah, so the site plan, the trench is shown in blue right where the cursor is. And we'll run the pipe around the structure and pipe it into, you know,
Into there.
a dry well. I can add a grate or a number of those where, again, there's like a yard drain, a little grate where water can get in and infiltrate.
And where would you put those?
I could put them wherever. I could maybe do 2 at the top and 2 at the lower terrace.
Your take on that, Josh?
Yeah, I think that's, yeah, I think Brad's proposal right now is pretty good. I think that would enhance it.
Okay. All right.
If I may, I just want to emphasize it's not impervious paving because it's going to be dry laid on a bed of gravel. That in and of itself is going to act like a reservoir area for water to go. So it's not like we're putting down asphalt or concrete.
Right.
It's dry laid stone on top of a bed of gravel.
Okay.
Jessica?
No questions.
All right, ready for me? Okay, on the, Josh, can I have the one that shows the sewer cap? On
Yes,
the,
I have a photo
is
of it.
that the west side of, that's the north side of
north
the
side.
house? Yeah.
Yep.
Just past that sewer cap, opposite the wood pallet, you can see where the water is draining down and eroding that banking into the neighbor's yard. Is there anything going to be done to prevent that runoff that exists now eroding that section by the plant and the sewer cap?
I was unaware of that. We are proposing a fence along that line in that area.
A
Just
fence to contain the water or a fence to,
No, it's
just a fence?
a fence in that area, but we could look at altering the grading and changing the,
I am very concerned about that whole pathway coming down. I understand it looks like it's going to have crushed stone and a mulch path. That is very steep, and except for the concrete at the side of the house where the ladder is, that's the only path of the water that will come down, stop at that wood pallet, and then run into the neighbor's yard.
Yep.
Because I noticed erosion there during my visit.
well, I think by removing that solid concrete and replacing it with crushed stone, it would allow for more infiltration in that area.
Oh, as long as the speed of the water coming down doesn't move all the crushed stone.
Yeah. We could look at
But
maybe,
that whole area will be cleared and made into a crushed stone, or is that where the 50 strawberry plants are going?
that's, so it's about half of the property on that side. Half, there's property's, you can see that from the property, it's about half the width. Right now, it's about a 2-foot wide or concrete paved swale. I think it's probably something that most of the structures had. The neighboring one was similar too, had a similar design. And
Yeah.
maybe that's how these houses were containing or controlling their runoff. But if we take out the concrete, which is proposed, and add that, crushed stone walkway, there's a couple steps down towards the water side. So if necessary, we add more steps going up to kind of more terrace it as opposed to a consistent slope. So it just levels it, add a couple step or a step, and work our way down. It's high enough above the, or no low enough below the foundation that we have some room to do that grading.
Now, under the existing deck, if you look back to where the stairs used to be, there's an opening onto the concrete. Yeah, see the, higher into the, yep. I bet your water runs down that.
Yeah,
Are we gonna do anything to shut that opening up to redirect that storm water coming down the concrete path? Because if I take a look at what it's like underneath the deck, there's no question there has been some erosion and water, because there's a whole bunch of little stones that are on top of the moss that's on top of the concrete pad just before the pile of wood. Yeah, there's no question there's water coming down that opening.
yes, and it could be also coming from the bank itself. That's, forward, street side of the house. We could possibly take that trench drain that we have across the front and extend it all the way to the,
To
across.
cover what might be that, because
Yeah,
what's coming
it
down
might
from the
not-
street,
Might not take what's shown right where the cursor was, which is that first 10 feet street side of those steps, but everything forward of that should be captured in a trench drain.
that's up at the top,
That's right across, yeah.
close to where the new bedroom's gonna go. But then you get all that water coming down the walkway, going toward the deck, will not be included in that French drain.
It does appear that his drain is right there in front of that section.
Yeah, but that's,
Yeah, it's just not accounting for the,
it doesn't cover the whole walkway.
it doesn't account for the walkway. I mean, if I extend it south to the existing retaining wall where the cursor is, it'll capture what potentially is coming down from the slope.
Coming-
I could look at maybe adding something else and connecting it so it's all connected and runs around.
You don't get a lot of water coming down that slope because it's all vegetated. What you're gonna get is the water coming on the concrete pad
Yep.
at the base of the last set of steps. Okay, now, I'm almost done. Your seawall. It's eroding underneath the seawall. You can see where someone put some cement clear near the base of the sand, and now it's eroding underneath that,
Yeah, that's not
right there.
that's not coming from above, that's coming
No,
from
that's
below.
coming from the water. So I
Yeah.
was wondering, since you're going to do some repointing and something like that, have you considered putting something in front of that seawall so it doesn't erode any further and subject to collapsing? I mean, that tide is getting higher and is slopping against that area every time. The tide comes up to that step all the
Yeah.
time.
It hasn't been discussed with the property owner, that specific. We could look at maybe...
Sheathing or something.
Yeah, I was thinking either sheeting or just digging down, and adding, a foot wide, like a buttress of concrete at the base. Right now, the stones are probably don't extend too much further down into the beach level, so what you need is to extend some type of structure in front of it lower so that it's not eroding underneath.
Yeah, because all those seawalls along Oak Street, that's happening too, because they were put in so long ago,
Yeah,
and the wave action has increased.
yeah. That beach is probably lowered over the years, so.
Yes. But did I have anything else? The front, by the coastal bank 1 and 2, there is a set of railroad ties and an upper garden.
Yeah,
That upper garden on that flat grassed area will remain?
The railroad ties will be removed and the plantings will be planted in the ground, so there won't be that raised bed
So those
along that
railroad- okay,
second
so
wall.
Thank you. Those railroad ties will go, and that area will be smoothed out, and that whole platform there, planted area, all of it will be planted, no longer having the railroad ties, correct?
Right.
Do I have anything else? I think,
Just to be clear, we do have flagstones down at that lower terrace area. So the plantings are along the walls, as buffers along the walls, but there's still open space for the family to gather down there.
now, will there be any issue with maintaining these stone patios with green joints? Will someone have to mow it?
No.
Okay. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on this project? Anybody online?
Seeing none.
Do we have, are we going to ask for a continuance to get some update on the plans to handle the runoff concerns? Because Denise wanted some type of grate or something? Yeah. Do we
Yeah,
want to add,
I've added notes, so what's been discussed is adding some additional dry wells in these areas that have a grate, so we can pick up standing surface water runoff in these terraced areas. And then, while doing that, come up with an option of a drain at the lower area by the steps of that southern walkway, right before they get to the deck. Either a trench drain, something in that area. It's going to be rebuilt, so it'll have the opportunity to put something in there.
or fill in the gap?
Yeah,
If you fill in the gap, it will cost the water to go around.
and still end up in the same spot, so,
Yeah, but it won't be under the deck,
yeah.
because I'm concerned that deck is held by posts that is on top of a stone. It's not like a concrete
Yeah.
pad.
Well, the deck's going to be rebuilt, so I'm assuming they're going to rebuild new sonotubes.
Sonotubes where
it's
those-
necessary.
Yep.
And the steps themselves, yeah, if they put risers on it, then yes, water would stop. But again, it would just direct it around that step and might end up kind of underneath the deck. That's just southerly of this walkway where there is another retaining wall. So, yeah, it might slow it down if you do it that way.
Hey, so
It's up to the commission. If they want to see it on plan, that's fine, or if these
I would like to see it
conditions-
on plan, because we're going to ask for order of conditions when we, certification when we, compliance. Oh, I'll find the word someplace. And it would be nice if we had a set of plans that, what you will build to.
Okay.
So, what's the next meeting?
Well, either you can continue it tonight, or you can make the approval conditional on on me getting a plan. So you could approve it with the condition that I get supplied with a new plan to show the revised changes that were address tonight.
Okay,
It's up to the commission.
what would you like?
I'm okay with that.
I'm seeing shake-ins. All right, so the,
The only question I have is whether or not you like that, you want us to repair that seawall in the face of it. Right now, we're
you
doing,
need to look at it.
I mean, sometimes they do put, that concrete out in front of it. I'm not sure if this commission would allow that, because it would, theoretically be working on the beach, about a foot out in front of the wall.
I had a concern that the seawall was looking used.
I mean, it looks pretty good as is, but again, more erosion's gonna make it
Well, and then
worse.
somewhere down the line, maybe amended order of conditions if it's something you'd like to address later, if not a brand-new notice of intent, but
Yeah.
you can start the rest of the work. If I'm hearing, or I'm seeing the shaking of the heads indicate that they're comfortable with Josh reviewing the final plans, so that we're asked for a approval of the our standard order of conditions with the approval pending Mr. Flaherty's final review of the updated plans. Am I hearing that right?
Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
So,
Pat?
Just tell me what the additions are gonna be to the plan. We're gonna add the grates to handle the water. Add the grate. Oh, I'm not on, sorry. You're gonna add grates to handle the water runoff, and then you're doing something with a trench on the other side?
extend the trench.
Extend the trench. Anything else?
I think we're gonna maybe possibly add, look at the grading on the walkway on the north side of and add some intermediate steps to kind of
Reduce the slope
reduce the slope of the gravel walkway.
and take a look at that erosion that's occurring.
On the north side, along the
Yes, on the
property
north
line.
side,
Yeah.
yep.
I might have to adjust some grading in that area, or,
Okay,
And then you'll address the seawall at another time. Is that correct?
I guess, address the lower erosion.
Correct.
We're still looking at,
your pointing and everything else will
Yeah.
be part of this
Yep.
this notice, so, but, okay. Someone comfortable with making a motion to close the hearing?
All right, motion to close the hearing?
Second?
I have a motion to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
500. Hearing is closed.
Motion to accept with a standard order of conditions with the addition of Josh, your handling of and approving of the final changes that we
Yeah.
discussed this evening. Is that okay? Or do you want me to list them, Sandy?
No, I think,
Should we,
That should
listing
cover
them?
it. Up to the commission. I mean, we have the meeting on video. It's easy enough to go
Yes.
back and look.
yes, that would be the motion. We approve the standard order of conditions with the amended plans to be reviewed and approved by the agent.
Agent. Somebody has to second it, because I made it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, Brad.
Next one, please. Oh, God, I made a big,
Oh, no. I'm okay, thank you. Just for me.
Have a good night. We'll be in touch.
Okay, this is a request for notice of intent for James and Colleen Dubé. Did I pronounce that right? GAF Engineering, 266 Main Street, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to raise and reconstruct a dwelling within the flood zone located on Assessors Map 50F, Lot 100 and 116, Worrell Avenue, Wareham, Mass.
Thank you. Who's here to represent that project?
Madam Chairman, Bob Rogers with GAF Engineering. And also with me tonight is James and Colleen Doobie, the owners.
Thank you, Bob. Please describe the project.
So this is an existing 8,000 square foot lot at 16 Worrell Ave with an existing small house on it, I guess modest house. The lot's entirely in the V zone. The plans that you have on the first sheet show the straight existing conditions, demolition, erosion control notes, and so forth. Some details for the erosion control. And then the second sheet in your set is the proposed project and details for the items that would be constructed. So the existing home is going to be completely removed from the property, the existing home and the foundation. Excuse me, and then the new home is 33 feet by 50 feet. And so we're holding if you're standing on Worrell Avenue looking at the existing house, we're holding the left rear corner of that existing house. And, well, for the positioning of the new house, if you will. And so the new house would be 100% flood zone compliant. So it's a VE18 zone, the lowest horizontal member. We've established at 20.1. There are some progress plans that have been done by ASAP. I have copies of the elevation views of those, but so essentially, we're going to be close to Worrell Avenue. There's going to be 3 garage doors, a very short paved driveway to get in and under the house. The parking would be inside, underneath the house. And we're actually doing a little bit of a cut in order to make the grade manageable from the edge of pavement of Worrell Ave and up and into the garage. So it'd be new utilities connections, very little change in the grade on the site, just a minor adjustment to the elevation 9 and 10 contours. And then we'll be collecting all of the roof runoff and in the front and rear and putting it into a couple of Cultec chambers that I'm not aware of any problems in this area in terms of drainage, but everything flows down to Worrell Ave. There's a couple of existing catch basins at the intersection with Turner. We've called for those to have silt sacks installed during the time of construction. And there's what details, there's an emitter system. If the dry wells, if the rainfall exceeds what's going into the chambers, the water would come out of the emitter and all the rainwater would end up where it's going now. But there's some improvement in runoff to Worrell Ave with what we have designed. That's essentially it. I would leave time for you for questions, comments.
Josh, your turn.
Is there any increase in the bedroom count of the property?
I did not bring floor plans. The bedrooms?
Yeah, there'll be one added bedroom.
One additional bedroom, okay,
So they're going from 2 to 3, so there's no impact on sewer.
okay.
I caught that.
Other than that, I'd say, 98% of the project is outside of the 100-foot buffer to the coastal beach. The only thing that seems to be within is the placing of erosion controls, which, there's no issue with that. Other than that, I have no comments on the project.
Thank you. Denise? Questions?
If I looked at this, you have both properties, the property that the house is on and the empty lot next to it. The shed that's on that lot is staying?
Yeah.
The shed is staying, okay.
I mean, we might get rid of it if we don't need it at some point, but, I mean.
No, I just was curious, because it was there, and I
It's
didn't know,
there, yeah.
and it's not affecting anything, and you're going up with the house. You're gonna have a beautiful view out the front there, with those two empty lots across the street, yeah. You might need an elevator eventually.
It's in the plans.
Yeah, no, I don't have any questions.
Jessica?
No questions.
Michael?
Just one question. The proposed driveway, is that an impervious or pervious surface?
We're calling for it to be paved. It's just, it's very short. It's, you know, I know it's wide because of, you know, it's 50 feet wide. There's going to be 3 garage doors. But, you know, collecting and infiltrating all the new roof runoff, which is bigger than the existing roof, so that more than makes up for that pavement. And, you know, it's maybe a little, just a short 10%. So, you know, if it was crushed stone or gravel or something, I think it would end up, if not from the ties, I think it would end up down in Wareham Avenue. So we would appreciate the ability to be approved to just have that be paved for that short distance.
It's only like 8 feet, I think, or something.
Yeah, Kwame?
Thank you.
Hi, Bob. I have no questions.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
This may be, I know this is outside of the 100-foot, but you said garage doors?
So, yeah, so
How are you going to keep them from flooding away when this VE 18 is encroached upon?
Sure. So hopefully they would have time and you know, foresee the storm coming and maybe open them up. But, you know, it's going to be for the building inspector to make
Okay,
sure
then-
that everything, but, you know.
It's secured and attached so it doesn't float away.
Well, I mean, so we have what's called breakaway panels, and we have, you know, flood vents and things of that nature, but you know, I can hand this out.
No,
but
that's all right. I was being curious outside of what I'm allowed to ask here, just that we're
Yeah.
always concerned about the breakaways under these raised structures. Okay.
Sure, understood.
Anybody on the audience would like to speak to this project? Anybody online?
Seeing none.
Motion to close the hearing?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. The hearing is closed.
Move to accept the project with standard order of conditions.
Second?
I have a motion to accept standard order of conditions and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you. You're approved. Before you start anything, see Josh for all your paperwork.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. As we go into continued hearings, Jonathan and Shackley, Vanessa Shackley, 19 Over Jordan Road, has requested continuance until May 3rd.
And River Terrace also requested a continuance to May 3rd.
Okay. Then I will take a motion to continue the Corkley River Terrace project.
So moved.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to continue into May 3rd. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. I'm going to jump down to 19 Over Jordan. They want a continuance until May 3rd.
Second?
I need a
So
motion.
moved.
Motion to continue?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. It's continued. So the next hearing we have is Pinehurst Beach Association. Please come forward and identify yourself representing this project.
My name's David Moore. I'm chairman of the trustees of the Pinehurst Beach Improvement Association.
John Spink, designer.
Rebecca Sands, Vice President by PBIA.
Kevin Murphy, trustee. Pinehurst Beach Association.
Okay. Okay, we're here to talk about the project. Please give us a brief overview.
Last time we were before you, there was a problem with the portion of the existing jetty was not on PBIA property. So we went back to our designer and asked him to relocate it slightly, so we were abutting the other one, or the original one, the existing one, and his new location. And there was a comment made on the length, so we asked John to see what he could do about shortening it a bit. And now I'm going to turn it over to our designer and let him explain what he did.
And in addition to that, we made it half the width and dropped it from 45 to 35 feet long. It'll now catch the lower and the middle part of the flow, and at the very high tides or storm tides, it will be underwater. So we've reduced it, moved it over, and made it a smaller project.
Okay, so we went from a 15 by 45 to a 6 by 35?
Yep.
Okay, Josh?
Yeah, so I have the revised plans pulled up on the screen here. It appears that they have moved their project away from one of the abutters who had concerns about it. They have reduced the size, which was a concern of the commission. And, you know, this is our final product, I guess, of all the revisions that were required.
Just to clarify, it now abuts the town-owned property and those failed stairs.
Yes.
Correct. Which will also help to stabilize what's left of the stairs, at least one portion of them.
Anybody from the town have you talked to anybody in the town regarding that?
So I've been before the Water and Sewer Commission and spoken with them.
Sorry, the Water and Sewer Commissioner?
Not water, I'm thinking of my hometown. It's just the water, Wareham Water, Wareham Fire, Water Department. I went before them with our original plan, and they said as long as it didn't impact their water line, they would be happy with it. And they wanted to speak with our engineer. We have since downsized the project, and once we get it, if we get the approval from Conservation, we will go back to them and run it by them again and have our engineer speak with them to make sure that we can assure them that it will not impact their water line.
Okay, but you spoke to nobody in the town of Wareham?
No, other
Okay.
than,
Thank-
right, they're
thank
separate.
you.
I
Yep.
realize. Yeah.
Josh?
Yeah, so, you know, I'm less familiar with the history of this area than, you know, many of the members on the commission. I don't know if there's ever been plans to reconstruct those stairs. From what it looks like right now, they kind of just abandoned them. It may be worthwhile reaching out to the director of the DPW to find out if there is any future goals associated with those stairs.
So we have been told repeatedly, this goes back to I first met you 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
Thank you.
The town has basically said, we're not going to, we're never going to, it's not going to happen, it's not a priority. We went and sat and met with...
Mr. Menard? Or no,
Menard.
before him?
He's not here anymore, is he?
Menard is.
Who's
So you're-
before him?
Okay, Gifford.
And then, who's the town administrator?
Mr. Sullivan.
Mr. Sullivan we met with. He's the one that said to us, it's not going to happen.
So,
Did speak to Mr. Campina, and he said that someday they're working on plans to put in a drainage collection system, an improved one to meet DEP regulations to control stormwater and so forth, and it will be located on Beach Road.
Okay, Guy has nothing to do with stormwater, he's sewer, so it would be Mr. Menard that would, working with storm water. Sorry,
No, and you're.
What the message was is that all these little stub roads
Yeah.
will ultimately be used for an enhanced
stormwater, they had better.
retention, because
Yes.
there's a number of them in the beach area that still, the storm drain goes down underground and the pipe comes right out into the river.
And that storm drain normally is very plugged. So our MS4, we're way behind on clearing stormwater drains. Okay.
But to answer your question, they're not going to fix those stairs. When we replaced our seawall, we actually attempted to see if we could just bring our seawall all the way across, and we're told no, because the town won't give you permission as a private entity to build on town property. So there was just no way to get that. We tried.
Okay.
To even just push, it would have stopped the erosion at the end of Beach Road, because those steps, if you've seen them, even in the last 5 years, are completely collapsed.
Okay. Janice, I'll start with questions with you.
I missed the designer's name.
John. Last name Spink, S-P-I-N-K, Sam Peter Inc.
And this gentleman's name.
Kevin Murphy,
And you are?
trustee.
Nobody uses those steps, correct?
As a matter of fact, when they began to collapse, and I went to the town and said, this is now a hazard.
Correct.
Someone's going to get hurt. They built the big metal barricade across the front of it, which there's this much space between the bars, so you just crawl through them. It effectively was nothing but an ugly structure.
Okay. So if somebody uses it, trips, falls, it's not your problem?
It never was our problem. What I was attempting to do at the time was to convince the town that they were on notice, and if someone got hurt, they were liable. And so that was their solution.
Okay. No questions at this time.
So one of the questions that you had asked at the last meeting were basically the credentials of the engineer. So we went back and said, John, you've done this before, right?
Yes.
Thank you. No, I figured when you brought a designer that that's who he was. Thank you.
So you can see the nice barricade.
Yeah, we were there.
You see that it would not keep anybody from crawling through it, and it doesn't stop anybody from stepping through it. We have a lot of fishermen that
Okay,
come
but
down.
beyond that mess is your property?
To the left.
To the left. Okay.
The nice wall.
The nice wall. And then the jetty comes into this whole thing over here.
Correct, and so you can see where it lies now in our proposal. You can see the condition of that wall on the corner there. And so we're now proposing to come to the left of that so that we're not touching that wall.
But you're still in front of that mess.
We're in front of the stairs.
The mess.
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 Well, I'm not sure what they're both messes.
Yeah, the whole thing is, but that's your property that you're putting the jetty on?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
The association owns all of the flats.
Okay.
15 years ago, the sand was up to the second step that you can see, second step coming down. So that's where the sand was. The old jetty was still, enough of it was holding it in place, but it's since just fallen apart. And sand has disappeared.
I don't know, just seems like none of that is falling onto your property, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, okay.
Hopefully, if this works the way it has in the past, it'll cover that up with sand.
Oh, it's sand. All right.
So our hope is to get approval to do this and then apply for replenishment.
Punishment.
Jessica, questions?
No questions.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Call me.
I guess my question is how long do actually jetties last? I mean, is there some kind of warranty with these things? wash away within, a certain amount of decades, but,
It depends on when the next hurricane comes through.
oh, okay. So you're saying that maybe in another 10 years or so? No one knows,
Do we
really.
have, did we ever figure out when that one's actually was built?
It was there 60 years ago, when I was a kid. And so it was built before then.
Autumn?
How are you currently accessing this area with the stairs looking the way they look?
The association property is the new wall to the left, and that's the association community house to the left. So we don't access it through the stairs. Fishermen do.
I don't have a photo showing that, but. Yeah,
Is there any way to compel the town to make the repair?
I think we can, no. To be honest, no. But I think what we should be asking the town to do is remove all of those stairs and just let it be a slope onto the sand. I think the
If
recommendation.
it's falling on their property to the stones and everything, they should have to remove it.
I would recommend, I can't tell municipal maintenance what to do. We can make a recommendation that they remove all of the broken stairs and let nature take its course onto that roadway. But right now, those stairs are, I don't know what you're gonna do with all the stones and stuff like that for your jetty. You're gonna have to move everything.
If you might allow me, it probably, if you remove the stairs, that will be then a focal point for the river and the ocean to eat back in. If somebody take a jackhammer out there and just break it up into little rocks, they'd have a nice rock slope.
But you got your jetty there to try to
That's this way, yeah.
ease the action of that river coming with in and out of tide. So your jetty would help prevent that from happening, correct?
Well, it will not prevent it, but
But
it
it
will
would reduce it.
reduce it. And you get the storm surge, you will get storm surges direct on, you'll get some out of the southwest and all of that. It's,
Most direct on will be coming in off of Hamilton,
yeah, probably much.
Well, more like Parkwood is where
that way,
is where our biggest threat is
coming across the river.
coming across.
How are you going to, if we approve this new location and size, what are you gonna do with all the stones that are there now?
Leave them.
Leave them and build on top of them.
So you really aren't going to have just a 6-foot wide jetty, you're gonna have a 6 plus whatever's there now.
Well, hopefully, as the sand accumulates, it'll hide most of those rocks spread out around like they have been hidden before. Josh, do you have the picture of, through you, Madam Chairman, do you have the picture of the other jetty that was, or this jetty when it was
The one that you
accumulating sand?
provided?
Yes.
Let's see here. I do. It's finding
With the
it.
person sitting on top of it.
Yeah,
Yes,
right
I
there.
believe this is one of the pictures you're referring to.
Yeah, you can see the
Sorry.
height of the sand up against the wall behind them is about 2 to 3 feet of sand that was there before, and that would hide most of those rocks.
So I'm concerned is that, yes, you want a new jetty 6 by 35, but you're gonna keep what you're there now, so you're gonna end up with at least a 15 to 20-foot wide jetty.
Yeah, wouldn't you have to remove those?
They're saying they're not going to.
I was about to ask that. Just like when we do a sand study, would we have to do some sort of rock study or some sort of comparison study?
Well, if they're
For what?
buried,
The rocks, if you had the more rocks to create a new jetty into the water.
You don't have to you don't have to test the.
You don't have to test?
What type of rock puts in. They
Or
could put
Just out
granite.
of curiosity, just
Yeah.
granite or something? All right.
There is a benefit to using a certain type of rock material that is not porous,
Mhm.
which will not erode.
Like a
as
granite.
quickly.
Right, that stacks and holds and
So could you please speak a little bit to the construction of the new jetty? What type of materials would be used? How would you prevent erosion?
Around this area, when you just specify stone, 5-pound stone, 25-pound stone, 50-pound stone, what you basically get is field stone, which is granite, okay? And it comes in different sizes, all right? And basically, the size will be like this kind of size rock, all right? It'll be granite.
And then for just adhering it together, do you use cement? Do you use any poles? You just
Stacked.
stick them together?
Just stacked.
But you're not removing what's there, is what you're telling us?
That's what we were suggesting.
What's the benefit of removing it?
Well, it doesn't belong there, and they're building a new jetty. That's the old jetty. They're moving the jetty over because it's not on, it doesn't reach, it's not on their property completely. So why would they leave the old jetty there and put another jetty
You
in?
mean because it's not in the exact same location? So it'll be
Correct.
spread over.
It's off to
You're
the
gonna end up with
side.
2 jetties right next to each other.
A very wide jetty.
Yeah, which will turn into one wide
Well,
jetty.
one is going to be 3 feet tall, and those are,
But they'll be right next to your new
that's
jetty.
a concern. We take those rocks out.
If
I
it
would-
works as planned, those will be all under the beach. You won't see those. They'll be buried again as they had been buried before.
I think you're doubling the size of your jetty,
Mm-hmm.
which I would think you'd have to remove. If you're moving the jetty over, you've got to get rid of the other jetty.
You could use those rocks and move them over if you wanted to.
We could use those in the new jetty.
Sure.
We could probably also use some of them to stabilize that erosion at the stairs as well.
It would seem to me that to move them would be almost more disruptive, you know, for what's there and what's growing around it, to move them and take them out, that process would be more disruptive than just putting in the new jetty.
But then they end up with a jetty that's twice as wide as it's supposed to be, because you're putting another jetty to the left of that jetty.
But the sand buildup of the water hitting as the tide comes in that way, the goal of the jetty is, well, not that it's a goal, a benefit of it is that you have sand deposited as the waves are hitting the structure. And those will be buried again, there will be sand again up against that wall
On
to
the right side, you're saying?
On the right side.
Okay,
And then our goal is to do replenishment, sand replenishment on the left side.
On the left side.
now, the height of this jetty is the height of the wall on the right or the steps on the left?
Basically, the steps on the left. Top of the steps on the left. And we're down to, this wide, so it's gonna come.
So your jetty will be filled up to the top of those steps, and will be, some of the rocks will be on the steps that exist now.
Can you say that again?
When you put in the new jetty,
Yep.
are you going to pile the rocks on top of the steps that exist there now on town property?
We were just gonna
Or are you
come,
gonna put a gap between those steps and the start of your jetty?
we were just going to come to the stairs. The bottom stairs.
But you're saying it's gonna be the height of the top stairs,
That's correct.
so there will be a gap,
Where the stairs are, yes.
so the water will come in from the steps and impact the existing seawall on the right, because it will flow around the jetty.
Around the end of it, there will be.
It will be
there
flowing
will be
around the
some-
jetty.
There will be some flow around the end of the jetty, yes.
How much of that is available at high tide? It just says king tide. About the only time there'll be a flow around that jetty is king tide?
No, there'll be some at high tide, but it's down in the middle of those steps.
I'm concerned about erosion that will be occurring around the land side of the jetty. Am I missing something?
It's
Josh?
probably only a concern until, sand starts to be deposited there, which will probably be a after effect of the jetty. As, sand will build up in that gap, and it will probably and if they're proposing beach nourishment, The erosion against that rock wall will probably only be minor until you have a buildup of sand.
So right now, the sand that is eroding away, where is it going?
Further down our beach.
Down that way,
into-
Up-
in-
upstream.
here, up here.
upstream toward the high school.
Coming
I'm trying to
behind
think
you,
of a
yes, yes.
upstream.
Yes.
It will be moving
To your left.
This way.
that way, yes. So your intent is to put in the jetty and then do beach nourishment up to the jetty,
Correct.
up to level off with your park, your beach, your beach,
Yes.
which is pretty nice right now in front of the building.
Only the building and the house next door.
Yeah.
And the next house down is getting a beach. And
Yeah, so, yeah, your stuff is all going further up the river.
But you can see already what we've lost from when we
Yeah.
just put that new wall in,
Yeah, you can see the discoloration.
right? And you can see it on the right-hand wall
Yeah.
as well.
And you can see where the beach has built up in front of your building, where
Well,
it
that-
all used to be level.
So that, yes, it used to be level, and there's now about a 6-inch, at the far corner of our wall, there's about a 6-inch step down to the beach.
As opposed to what it had been, a foot plus.
Yes. And you can see from here on the right-hand side, it was probably 18 to 24 inches
I
down.
would love to see the town remove those stupid steps.
You are not alone. But they said it's not going to happen.
I'm trying to remember, how long ago did I swim at that place?
Is that chain link that's in there that's been removed?
What?
Is that chain link on that piping that's been removed?
No,
No.
that's what you would make a
That's
chain
on
link
his
fence
property.
out of.
It's
Oh,
on
I
their
see.
property.
It's on their property.
Yeah.
I don't
Let's
know.
see, 60, 64,
It's just an open.
okay.
I don't know, I
60-plus
just don't-
years
You
ago.
remember the raft and the lifeguard
That's,
chair?
this was the only place to swim at low tide, all through town. If you
I
didn't
know.
get onset, you walked to here, and that's where the raft was. And matter of fact, I got my lifeguard certification in that diving off that raft,
As did I.
and I blew my ear. I just had to have it. I had to get down and get that stone. Yeah, a little too far down, so yes. All right, I'm sorry, I digress. Give me a chance to remember what it was like 60-plus. Okay. What would you like to do, folks?
Well, I personally, or as a commissioner, don't feel comfortable with it ending up being as wide as it's going to end up being without having to do some removal of that other jetty.
All right, is there anybody here to comment on this project? Please come forward, then we can talk about. I need one of you to relinquish your seat so we can give someone the mic. Thank you. And please identify yourself.
Yes, Elizabeth Leiden. I'm here on behalf of Sheila Marinucci, the abutter.
It bites.
Okay, Elizabeth, your concerns.
So she is also concerned about the rocks remaining and the movement of those rocks and how they'll affect the seawall and the surrounding property. We're also wondering about the maintenance of the wall. How do you plan to maintain it? Does it require maintenance? If those rocks remain, will the sand actually reach the intended level on the wall? And if not, how do you plan to address that?
Would someone like to answer?
Well, might as well start, okay. The maintenance on the wall is very minimal, and it would occur probably most in a big storm event where you might get some movement of the stones. And at that point in time, all it would do is replace this, put it back, put the stone back. The sand coming on to the site is, we expect to try to nourish the site, or move some of the sand that's down to the left there, back up in that area.
On the other side of the wall. Not the nourished part, but on the other side, if the rocks remain in place, will it have the intended effect on that side?
One believes it will be, yes. That it'll allow that in back of, on your client's property, to be an eddy instead of a scour point. Right now, it's a scour point, okay? And with the jetty being full there, it should be an eddy point where it will just deposit some sand in there.
And where is the machinery going to go to build the, how do you plan to?
It comes in, well, okay. You've got the, you know where the picnic table is?
On our lot.
Okay, can we get one of the shots of so we can see the yard?
Of the Pinehurst
Yeah.
property?
Yeah.
I think this is probably the best
There-
one I
there's-
have.
There's a picnic table, okay.
Yeah, that's the one.
Nope.
That will be, there will have to be, it's gonna be a crawl machine, end loader type, small end loader. And they will have to put in some soil, sand in this case, over the wall so they can come over the wall and come across here like this with that and drop the stone and come back across like that. Then they can remove the sand.
But not over the stairs, over the.
No, that's town, that's a fence, we're not touching anything on the town. It's gonna come in that piece of the property and come over here. and
So you're
come
gonna
out here.
build some type of ramp
You gotta
that'll
build-
allow the machinery get to the beach
Right,
to move to place and move rocks.
stone on it, yes.
And were the updated plans submitted to DEP as well?
No, they haven't, yet. We wanted to see how the local commission, we submitted our original plans, and we wanted to see if they met the requirements of the local commission. And then we will submit them to DEP and the Corps of Engineers.
Do you have any plans to put up a no trespassing sign or anything to keep people off of the wall for?
No.
You mean off the jetty?
Off the jetty, yes.
Okay. Anything else, Elizabeth?
That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, come forward and,
Sheila Mariucci, this is to follow up on Liz's question.
all right, can you, before you just come in the mic, introduce yourself?
Hi, fellas. This is Sheila Marinucci. I'm the abutter that has the concern that the concern about the debris that's there now, majority of that debris is from the stairs and our failing wall. I'm afraid that if that is left there, the water movement will continue to have that debris, the lightweight debris, not the larger ones, smash into the walls, smash into the stairs, because the water movement just does that. And so I'm concerned if that's left there, not the large boulders that Mr. Spink's planning to put in, but the smaller rocks that just have magically appeared over the past few years.
Okay.
So that is a concern. And I guess the weight of the typical boulders that you're planning for that? I know you said they're large ones, or the granite, rough average for a jetty.
In this particular case, probably 150 to maybe 400-pound stones.
Okay, so not in the thousands, so they could move with heavy water movement.
Even the big 1,000 ones will move too,
Right,
yeah,
right.
depending on the storms.
Okay,
Yeah, so, thank you.
thank you.
So, yeah, that does raise a concern, is that the rocks that are there now are awful small. I don't think I'd be willing to keep them there. There's part of me that says, let's remove the whole existing stone entity, I'm not sure if I can even call it a jetty, and build a brand-new one using the correct size and weight of stones. Yes, please, help me.
Is there a possibility that you can take your, the jetty that you have now and use that as a base to your new jetty? You would reposition those as the base of your new jetty, and you build on top of those.
Physically, that's absolutely, can be done, yes.
So that way you would not be increasing the overall width of, the jetty or the two jetties. You would be using those as a base. You would relocate them to where it is on your proposed plan.
One of the old wall techniques, and I'm talking old wall, I'm talking Roman on, okay, was that they went and they dug a trench down about this deep, all right? And they put in smaller stones and then larger stones on top of it to give them a solid base, and then put whatever structure they did on top of that. The reason we're not suggesting that is that that ends up digging up the existing beach, which is, up to you guys, but, yes, we could do that. Should we do that? That's another question, but yes, we could do that.
So that would entail digging a trench, moving all that stone into the trench, and then building on top of it.
No, I didn't hear that.
Pretty much.
You'd have to dig a trench to put the existing stones that are on the beach
Well,
in that trench.
as soon as you get it up above the wash depths, okay, then we need to have fairly large stones
Stones on top of it.
to hit, so when we get wave action against it, we would like them not to be, pebbles.
Is this what you're thinking?
I think that, removes the problem of actually having to remove them from the beach. Again, it does add the trench that they would be placed into, but it would create a more firm base for the new proposed
ones.
jetty. So, or you could have them removed.
And if we have them removed, then we don't have to dig a ditch. But if we keep them and put them in a ditch, then it becomes a better foundation for the bigger 500-pound suckers.
We also don't know how deep those are, so when we say remove them, we could end up creating a ditch.
Well, or at least bring them down to surface,
level.
beach level.
Surface this week.
Correct.
Surface this week, yes. Okay.
So, the abutters' concerns were not incorrect. The new plans would have to be filed with DEP. We'd have to wait for their comments. And, they're also gonna have to apply for a Chapter 91 license for this project as well.
Which happens after our approval. Comments?
No comments.
Well, I know we have to wait for DEP, but would you, I'm going to ask you, would you prefer to have the smaller stones removed or removed from the beach or put into a trench? 3 feet over from where they are now.
I think it's kind of difficult to say, because if what's coming off of the town steps, if that's not going to be removed, we're talking about just the stones from the jetty and
Yes,
not
that is
debris
correct.
from the steps.
That is right, just the stones that exist in what appears to be what's left of the jetty.
We do have an expert here who builds jetties. What would your position on this be? Do you see the building of a trench underneath your jetty as a benefit?
It would be a better base.
But overall, do you see, you wouldn't propose this for a new jetty, so,
I'm not proposing it primarily because it means digging up a flat,
gotcha.
okay? But that's another environmental question. And that's why that was just a
That's why you didn't
negate
propose
that
it.
question,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So,
We don't, Jimmy, we don't own the first 5 or 6 feet of that, that pile of rocks of the old jetty. That's why we haven't proposed to do that. We're trying to stay away from the abutter's property.
So the abutter owns the first 5 feet of the jetty?
Yes.
Ish.
Well,
That's unclear.
that's unclear, okay?
But part of it.
But
Potentially.
perhaps part of it, yes.
And if you removed your part of it, would she want her part removed?
Is she right here?
Yes. You have to come
But
up.
keep in mind that she doesn't own the beach. The beach is owned by the organization.
So how does she own the first 5 feet of jetty?
There's,
Well,
may I?
Yeah,
There is a plan of land, and there is a deed. And whether the plan of land and the deed match each other this way is very difficult to determine, primarily because the plan of land is for that whole peninsula, all the subdivision of that whole peninsula, and it sits on the peninsula, the plan, where the lot lines are, and it's very difficult, survey-wise, to tie that down, because there is very little monumentation, except for the one next door that was done differently and at a different time, so they may or may not match. All kinds of big legal problems. So they've got this subdivision lines and lot lines laid somewhere on that peninsula, and the deed says to the association, the flats. That's the description. So we don't really know this way where everything is. And we probably cannot, without spending hundreds of years of land court time, ever figure that out.
But perhaps there's an opportunity to collaborate on a solution.
Not disagreeing.
yes, Elizabeth.
She would prefer that the rocks were removed, so she would allow for that to happen if it was required.
Thank you.
Conservation-wise, is there a problem with digging a ditch and putting those rocks in the ditch? Or do we need to just have them removed?
I would suggest removing them over digging a ditch.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of them spread out. So the question is, if we ask them to be removed, do we remove all the rocks, even though they may not have been part of the original jetty? Did that, if I take a look at that
They're part of
pile-
the jetty, but not on their property.
Well, it's the flats are all owned by the Pinehurst Association. So this is part of what they own. It's when it comes up to the seawall that's in question.
Right.
They're moving it over so they're up to the stairs of the town of Wareham. Correct?
Say that again, please?
Your jetty, there's no question where you're moving the jetty now, it's starting with the town of Wareham's land where
Yes.
the steps are.
Yes.
There's no question now where it
Yes.
ends.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why you're moving the
Yes.
jetty several feet further west.
It's to get away from the corner of that,
Yeah.
of her
All
seawall.
right, here's my suggestion, if you'd be so kind. There are certain rocks in that pile, okay, that are sufficiently large enough to be used. Those would stay, we would reuse them and move them over. We will take the smaller stones, and I can give you a number, maybe a 200-pound stone or something, and take those off-site.
So
It
if
doesn't-
if I can pick up a stone, you're gonna remove it,
Yep.
and I'm good for 70 pounds.
Well, I think so.
You've been to the gym.
Well,
Is that agreeable?
well, we're going to have to continue waiting for DEP filings and things like that, but I'd like to be able to give them a hint as to what we're thinking about.
We would love to go there with whatever we're gonna do, yes.
Remove.
Yeah, remove.
Remove.
And if you can reuse them,
And I would suggest, because it requires equipment to remove in its entirety. So with cooperation from the abutter if possible, so that it's all being done at once. It's one job and then complete.
I wonder if we would say, okay, town, we're going to be removing, can we remove those steps?
Yeah.
well, if,
Sorry, as an offering.
well, if the stones that have fallen off are on their property, I would think that they have a right to move them or remove them.
The steps from the town.
No, whatever has fallen on their property.
Yeah, so on the
If it's
flats.
fallen on their
so all that
property, why can't they
rubble.
remove
The
it?
steps that have fallen on their
I'm
property.
not saying if it's steps or a rock. I'm just saying that if it's fallen on their property, they have a right to remove it.
Because some of those larger pieces are going to be in your way of building the jetty where you want to move it.
Of the ones that have fallen on the beach, that would
Yes.
be true.
Yes. Well, if you turn them 90 degrees, then you can use them as part of your jetty.
I suggest that if a stone has fallen on the flats, then it belongs to the association.
Correct.
Regardless of the formation, the size and dimension of the stone that fell.
Yes, if you want to go out there and push all the steps in.
I think
We might show up at night.
they're already on, the steps are already on Pinehurst.
Steps or otherwise, whatever's.
Fellas, what would you prefer?
From conservation-wise, just go ahead and remove it.
Yep, same.
So there's the take, is
Okay,
to.
gotcha.
I got the feeling it's say, remove it, and then you can build your 6 by 35 in the new location, but I'd definitely check with Menard and Maintenance to see if something could be, that they know you're putting a jetty in front of the town-owned steps.
Okay, we'll do that.
I think that's the best we can come up with, so if not, we're going to continue until, do you think we can get DEP back by May 3rd? Oh, you haven't filed yet.
It's just submitting revised plans to DEP.
Okay.
Right, you've already been in contact with DEP.
Yeah.
You have a DEP file number.
So we'll continue until 5/3, think there's a good chance May 3rd we'll be back?
If we don't get the comments, then
Then
we
we continue
continue
to
again.
So I think I've asked everybody for comments, and so
So moved.
that we continue
To
until...
5:3.
Okay, so that's the motion, continue until 5/3. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. We're continued until 5/3. Yeah.
That one was gonna be.
When we were, for the record, when we were rebuilding our seawall, DEP corrected me that this is not a jetty. It's a groin.
So that's a groin.
That's a groin.
You're building a jetty.
That's right. In my world, it's a jetty.
DEP's world.
All right.
Groin. Oh,
We
that was in
now,
the 70
I'm
grade.
sorry, we're now at Mass Audubon.
Appreciate, thank you very much.
What everybody has been waiting for is the Mass Audubon at 266. 226 Great Neck Road. Sorry, I knew I had the right address, but I just didn't. Okay, we continued it, so.
Did.
Who's here representing the project?
Hey, this is Paul Mancuso from BSC Group. Can you hear me clearly?
Who is it?
We can.
Paul Mancuso.
Paul Mancuso.
All right. Do you want to discuss the project or where we left off around the turtles?
Yeah, I'll go back through where we left off. So, there were two pieces to this project at the Great Neck Wildlife Sanctuary, 226 Great Neck Road. The first part was removing the old wooden pedestrian footbridge, which I think there was no problem removing the footbridge. There was some questions about the two pipes beneath the bridge, one of which is a porcelain pipe that is sitting on top of the ground, not actually embedded in the ground. And after speaking with the Audubon and receiving your concerns about disrupting the ground there, they are proposing to just remove the porcelain pipe that is sitting on top of the ground, as that will not require any ground disturbance. And then the PVC pipe that is embedded in the ground beneath the bridge, they will leave that in place and just cut off the ends so that there's not a foot or two of PVC plastic sticking out. But they will leave that in place and not disturb any of the ground, not cause any disturbance there. So that was, one of the concerns was the pipes beneath the bridge. So that's sort of how they hope to resolve that issue. And then the second part of the project was the man-made drainage ditch that is a stone wall lining portion of it. And I believe you guys had concerns about consulting with turtle experts, and I obtained the resumes of Gene Albanese from the Mass Audubon Society, who helped design this project, and from Matthew Byrne of BSC Group, my company, who is also a wildlife ecologist. They both have decades of experience working with wildlife in Massachusetts, and specifically Gene has existing permits from the Massachusetts Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program to work with turtles and other species on the Audubon properties. So I believe that their experience working with wildlife, specifically turtles, should be enough experience to design a simple project such as this. They're just trying to remove a couple sections of stones in the wall so that animals can pass through the area without problem. Recently, under a different project, they removed a bunch of invasive species in the area, and when they uncovered this stone-lined ditch, which you used to not really be able to see with the naked eye because there was a bunch of invasive species growing along it, they found shells and carcasses of dead animals and turtles in the ditch, and so that's sort of what spawned or gave them the idea for this project to remove sections of the stone so that animals could pass through more freely and not get stuck in this ditch. So that, I believe that was another concern. And then one of the, I think the last concern was where would the rocks go once they were removed? And we submitted a revised plan showing a location outside of the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands near an existing stone wall where the rocks would be placed. So I believe those were the three concerns: was the pipes under the bridge, consulting someone with turtle expertise, and then where the rocks were going. So at this point, if you guys have any further questions, I'd be happy to discuss them.
Didn't you also ask about having the cuts put across from each other?
Yeah. The cuts, it wasn't meant for them to go across from one cut to another, but have it in various sections in case they're floating down the river, the water, and they need to get out. So it isn't as if it's a passageway from opposite each other. It was just.
Water in this trench?
There's water in this trench coming from the pond.
That's the picture that you sent, Mike.
Well,
Mike
You have
showed
the
a
trench?
picture of a, no, he showed a picture of a
a turtle
turtle on a rock.
on top of a rock. Yeah,
in the pond.
Okay.
in the ponds.
In
So,
the
yeah,
pond.
the idea is, I said, shouldn't we remove rocks opposite each other? And the answer was, really isn't intended to be a passageway from one end to the other. It's to be a released, escape route if they get caught. So it didn't have to be opposite each other, as long as it's available on both sides of the stone wall at various sections,
Okay.
right?
Correct.
It wasn't meant to be a passage. Okay, Josh?
I have no comments. I think the revisions that were made address the board's concerns.
Do you have the new plan?
I do. Would you like to see it?
Yeah, the plan I have is dated, oh, what's the date?
It's dated sometime last week, I believe.
No,
This
there's
one
a new
says-
plan.
This one says 3/21
I don't have a date on this plan.
by the
Sorry,
stamp.
so
It should
here,
be
By the stamp,
where the stamp
well, I
is.
usually expect it down here,
See up at the stamp? There's a date.
3/21. Is there a more current one?
Yeah, the original plan was dated 3/21. The revised plan we sent last week is April 13th, 2023.
yep. So this would be the most recent plan on the screen here.
The only real change on the plan was just indicating the area at the bottom of the page where the stones would be relocated.
Is that, I guess you're trying to find where they're going to relocate, move the stones to?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and they've been proposed outside of the jurisdiction of the
Okay.
Conservation Commission, so.
So, Paul, once again, I'm going back to the bridge. There's a pipe under the bridge, being the red one, and they still want it removed, correct?
Yeah, that one is just sitting on top of the ground, not embedded, so there would be no ground disturbance required to move it. Any water that would theoretically flow through the pipe at high water levels would just flow under the bridge if the pipe were removed.
Well, my picture shows it in the soil. So I figure that red pipe is in the soil. There's a broken tip, but then there's another PCV valve which is further away from the bridge. You want to cut that off? Is that what I heard?
Yeah, they would leave the pipe in the ground and not disturb the ground around it, but just cut it off.
Wait a second. The picture on the screen is the red pipe. You can see that it really is embedded in the soil with a broken tip.
I can see that it doesn't look entirely underground. I think from what I was told, I have not been out there since, but they said that they could literally just pull it out without digging around the pipe.
Does it hurt to keep it there? The bridge is going to be removed. Does it hurt to keep the pipe there?
They just want to get rid of all the debris that's there. That pipe is obviously not a piece of the natural landscape, and that's sort of what they're trying to get is more natural landscapes. So removing the bridge, they would like to remove that one, and the PVC one, they would just like to cut flush so that there's not a foot or two of white plastic sticking out of the ground.
That PVC one is further, is before the bridge, right?
Yeah, if you're coming from the bottom side of the page, yeah.
So you really don't see it unless the water's flowing through it, you don't see that white pipe. It's not in the picture, Josh, it's further away.
Right.
It's before the bridge.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be in like the bottom left of that photograph, just outside the bottom left.
And so they're just saying, cut it off, so you just don't see the white, but leave the pipe there.
Yep, that's correct.
It's an overflow pipe.
And so what happens is the water flowing under the bridge now, or through the white pipe, or through the red pipe, is because the pond is higher than it's higher, which is why we're getting a water flow. If it gets to be dry weather, there's no water coming out of any of the pipes or flowing under the bridge.
Correct. When I was there last, that's what I saw.
All right. So we're talking about, we have a place to store the rocks that are removed from the drainage ditch. We are looking at removing the bridge. Now the discussion is cutting the PCV pipe so you don't see you don't see the white, and removing this red clay pipe. Okay, questions? I'll go around. Jessica?
Can I go afterwards?
Okay. Kwame?
No questions. thanks.
Michael?
So when the bridge is removed, there's going to be nothing over it that's it?
Yeah, the bridge will be gone there. It's an old hiking trail that they don't really want used anymore. The bridge is falling apart. Definitely not really safe at this point, so they want to get rid of the bridge and just close down that section of trail. They're going to plant a bunch of native plants, which are also listed on the plan at sort of the approach to the bridge on both sides, so that it doesn't really look like there was ever a trail there in the first place. And then, when there are high water levels, when water would flow under the bridge, there would just be no bridge there, and it will flow as it would.
Okay, and so the pipes would remain, correct?
The PVC one, they would like to remove the porcelain pipe that's...
They want to remove that pipe.
They want to remove that pipe right there, okay. And what's the current, as of right now, the current width of the pond and the depth of the pond?
The depth... So our elevations are relative to NAVD 88, and the elevations at the bottom of the pond are approximately 1 foot, 1.1, 1.4, 0.9. Those are the elevations we got, and also 0.7. And the pipes themselves are at 7.9 and 9.2 elevation. So they're at least about 7 feet. The PVC pipe is about 8 feet above the bottom of the pond.
All right. Thank you.
Denise?
Yep.
And how is all this affecting the pond itself in terms of it draining, in terms of it not being there anymore for the wildlife? I thought that was a big concern, That if you did what you
There
wanted to
should-
do,
oh,
that
sorry.
this was going to, the pond was going to end up disappearing.
Yeah, there should be no effect on the pond. The pond, there's no reason for it to drain out. The elevations in the pond are, as we just said, approximately 7 or 8 feet below the 2 pipes. And so by removing the one porcelain pipe, it's not going to change the pond. Only at high levels of, after a storm or something, water would flow through under the bridge. Water will still be able to do that if it reaches that, if you have high water levels in the pond, but the pond itself will remain. It will still have approximately 6-7 feet of water. So the pond will definitely remain. There will be no changes to the pond. There's really no threat of the pond draining by taking the bridge and that porcelain pipe out.
Is there something that you could do that would make that a guarantee? Well,
I'm
what
not
could you-
sure
what
what
could
you're
you-
asking. I mean,
What I'm asking is there
there's
something
no
that you
reason
can
for the
do?
water
You're
to
telling
rush out
me,
of the pond. You have to dig like an 8-foot trench beneath that bridge for the water to drain out. We're not proposing anything like that. We're not proposing any ground disturbance under the bridge.
but you're not guaranteeing that that pond isn't going to go away. You're telling me that
I
it
don't
probably
see any
won't.
way that pond is unless you dig an 8-foot trench. There's no way it's going to drain out. Water's not going to jump up out of the pond in 8 feet. The physics just don't make sense. That would not happen.
The only way.
So, I mean,
that
I can
pond-
guarantee you that that's
sorry.
not going to happen. The pond is
Oh.
not going to drain by removing the bridge and the one pipe. The other pipe will stay in place. Water can flow under the bridge as it naturally would when there are high water levels in the pond. The pond will not drain. If the pond level goes above 8 feet, water will flow under the bridge, but it's not only the bottom 8 feet of that pond are not going to drain out, which is what the pond generally is.
What's the water source of the pond?
I would assume groundwater. There's a wetland to sort of that extends to the north, or to the northwest of the page. That I'm sure there's some water coming from that wetland and just the surrounding watershed. It's a man-made pond.
So it's only there because it's a depression.
Yes, and groundwater feeds into it. I'm sure water from that wetland feeds into it.
Okay, anything else, Denise?
No.
Autumn? Sorry.
Questions, thank you.
So that 3-inch PVC pipe is 9 feet above the bottom of the pond?
That PVC pipe is at elevation 9.2 relative to the North American vertical datum of 1988. That's sort of like a baseline. But the elevations in the pond that you see on a plan range from 0.7 to 1.4. So we'll just say an average of 1 feet. The pipe is 8.2 feet above the bottom of the pond.
Okay, so right now, that 3-inch pipe will never drain the pond unless the pond rises to the point of reaching that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Unless the water level was at 9.2 or higher.
And the the 12-inch pipe is virtually how far, that's 12 inches.
Yep, that is at
Right.
7.9 feet, so
That's right,
approximately.
I see 7.9. So unless the pond rises up to 7.9, there'll be no water flowing under the bridge or through this pipe.
Yeah, that's correct. And only if water reached that high, it would only flow out until the water was at elevation 7.8, and then water would no longer be flowing out.
So,
And you would still have all of that water in the pond.
But Denise, I'm sorry to interrupt. Isn't that like a little, doesn't the land rise a little bit?
sorry?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Doesn't the land rise a little bit, though?
That's what he's saying. Where the bridge is and everything else, it's inches above the height of the pond. 9 inches, 9 feet? 9 feet above the edge of the pond for that 3-inch one, and 7.9 above the pond,
Terracotta, and
the red one.
the red one is getting removed, though, correct?
No, that's part of the discussion. The white PCV will be cut, so you don't
Right.
see that the pipe
That's
exists.
staying there.
But that's staying there. So the pond level will be relieved once it reaches this 9 feet above the bottom of the pond. The I don't know what to call it, the red one.
Terracotta, the red one.
Terracotta. I'm concerned that if we remove it, we're going to disturb soil. It could very well be something that it could be removed once the pond has gone down far enough so no water is flowing in the area.
Yeah, we did mention that last time. We would be happy to hold off on removing the pipe until, say, the summer, when the water level's a bit lower, and we could leave that piece, because like I said, we wouldn't really need any equipment. Once the bridge is removed, which will also be done by hand, they could go in this summer once the water level in the pond has dropped, so that there's no real disturbance there, and just take the pipe out at that point. That is totally fine. That makes sense to me.
Oh, the planting on the other side of the bridge will be done by hand prior to removing the bridge?
I think they would probably remove the bridge first, so that they're not, and then plant the area all sort of at the same time.
Well, don't they have to go across the bridge to do the plantings?
No, you can walk around in the upland on the other side. They have other trails sort of on the left, off the page to the left, that could get you over to that area.
All right. I think I'm giving in a little on the terracotta pipe. But anybody here would like to speak to this project, please come forward and identify yourself.
Hello, my name's Paul Taggart. I'm concerned, as you are, they shouldn't touch either pipe, because the terracotta pipe is halfway in the ground, and it flows into the creek. The PVC pipe is an overflow pipe. And like you said, well, he answered my question, because I was concerned about machinery being used to remove the footbridge or doing the planting, which would compromise the integrity of the pond, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why we can't leave the pipes in the ground where they are.
Well,
They're serving, they might not look pretty, but
He's
they
not
serve their purposes.
He's not removing the PCV, he's cutting
he's
it,
m-
he's cutting off the edges so you don't see the white pipe. What is it, about 4 inches on each side?
4 inches on each side, yeah.
Yeah.
But the terracotta pipe should remain.
It sort of looks like it found its home there, but that's...
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Paul, thank you.
Yeah.
Say hi to Mary and Susan.
Yes, I will.
Hi, thank you. My name is Paula Jean O'Neill, and I live at 218 Great Neck Road, so I am the very next house to the Audubon property. I made a list of, I was just going to read this because I didn't know what my time limit was, but it looks like we're in much more of a discussion now. I'm just thinking that everyone in this room knows what happens when you're in the bathtub and you're done and you're ready to get out and you pull the plug. What happens to the water when the plug isn't holding the water back anymore? The red pipe, the cement, porcelain, terracotta, whatever we call it, pipe, water's flowing through it as we speak, but it's been there for so many, many years. It's embedded in the mud, in the dirt, surrounded by rocks. It's essentially the dam that holds the water back. When that's gone, I can't imagine how we won't have the unintended consequences of losing the pond altogether. The pond may have a depth of, I believe the gentleman said 9 feet, but that's in the probably dead center in the pond. Much of the pond at the edge is shallow, and it's not like a swimming pool deep all the way. So when those pipes are pulled out, and worst case would be machinery pulling the pipes out, all the rock and dirt that has formed as a dam over the years will be gone, and with it the water. I liked very much when Ms. Schultz asked if we could have a guarantee from Audubon that the pond will remain. I didn't hear, it was not forthcoming. I'd be perfectly comfortable if we could sign in blood or something that the pond will remain, that we're not going to drain the pond and lose it. And I'm the bleeding heart for the wildlife. I've been here almost 7 years. I walk that property all the time. I know almost as much of it as Paul Taggart does. And the wildlife there is incredible. It helps make it be such a wonderful and magical spot. We call it a sanctuary. By sanctuary, that means a place of refuge and safety for animals. That includes fresh water for drinking. There's no other fresh water source nearby for the animals, and other animals need water to complete their life cycle. So I just think that it doesn't, losing that pond doesn't match in my mind the good things we think about when we think about Audubon. It just seems wrong, and I really hope this committee will keep that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your application.
Oh, you're welcome. I found it.
Anybody else? Yes. Yes.
Hi, Lori Benson, 295 Onset Avenue, Onset. I'd just like to support what Paula Jean said. I don't see a need to remove the terracotta pipe, especially if you're taking out that bridge. There aren't going to be any pedestrians over there, and it helps act like a natural dam and provide structure to make sure that the pond stays in place and doesn't drain out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody online?
There's no one online, but if I may
Please.
make a comment. I'd briefly like to describe the plan for everyone. I think, maybe we're getting confused in some areas. And with that being said, I think we all agree that there are times where the commission may disagree with me and I may disagree with the commission. I think that's why, my role exists and your role exists. So no one's making a decision in a vacuum. What I see from the plan and what is being described is that the bottom of the pond on this embankment is at elevation 1 foot. The elevation of the PVC pipe is at 9.9 feet. That would allow for the pond to be 8 feet deep until it is spilling over into that PVC pipe. The elevation of the broken clay terracotta, what you may have it, is at 8.1 feet. Removing that pipe, I kind of think about it, the pipe was installed to allow water to flow when that pond got to 8.1 feet. And now that it is crushed and created a dam, I don't see it being a major issue if it is removed at a dry period of time where the water wouldn't be able to rush down, whatever construction activity they're doing, which I would condition, probably by hand instead of machinery. And it would allow that ground to stabilize by the time there is a, big storm event where the water may get to that level. With that being said, it's, the commission's decision and how you guys see fit. But I do believe this is overall a good project, and I do believe that the pond will remain after the removal of, the pipe. With that being said, feel free to condition the project as you will.
Talk to me about, you said about machinery?
I would have it removed by hand.
The terracotta pipe and the bridge. No, the bridge has to be done by machine.
The bridge can be done by hand.
The bridge can be done by hand, yeah. It was put in by hand.
I imagine they can both be done by hand.
So
It just depends on how many man-hours you want to throw at this type of project.
how about the rocks on the drainage ditch, machinery or by hand?
They'll be done with like a very small backhoe or something like that, small bobcat.
Okay.
Paul, can you talk to me about the invasive species removal that was approved around the drainage ditch?
I don't know too many details. I know the first time I went there, I didn't know there was a stone line drainage ditch years ago, but they have removed some invasive vines and plants from the area. So now the ditch itself is, if you go there, you can see it, walk right up to it. And so I don't have too much details on the actual invasive species removal, but that I believe that portion of that project has been done, and so the area has opened up, so I guess there might be more potential for wildlife to come through the area that might go over the wall and potentially get stuck, but I can't really speak too much on the invasive removal.
Thank you.
So the most current plan we have is April 21st, correct? And that's the one that shows the placement of,
April 13th.
April 3rd.
April 13th.
That's the revision date. The plan was March 21st, but the revision date is April 13th.
April 13th is the newest plan.
Correct.
All right, folks.
Can I ask, I do have one last question.
Yes.
So, it doesn't sound like anyone objects to the bridge coming out. It's just, does the pipe, the terracotta pipe, come out or not? And the reasoning behind the removal of the terracotta pipe is just cosmetic?
I mean, the pipe itself is broken. I guess water can flow through it, but I'm sure it's clogged up, it's skunked up, it's debris in the way. Removing the pipe is not really like pulling the plug on a bathtub, because that would be at the bottom of the pond or a bathtub in that scenario. Basically, it's at the top of the bathtub or pond, and removing it, as we mentioned, only when the pond water level is above 8.1 feet would water flow that way anyway, and water will still be able to flow freely out of the pond once it reaches that elevation. It just won't be going through a pipe, it will just go over the top of the land, but there's no reason for the pond to drain, as the elevations we got directly next to the bridge are 8 feet below the elevation we have where the pipe are, which is essentially the ground level. So they would like to remove that pipe, and the other one can stay. Water could flow through that if the water level reached up to 9 feet or 9.2 feet. But there's really no threat of the pond draining, removing something that is 8 feet above the bottom of the pond. It's not that the analogy of pulling the plug on a bathtub doesn't really apply, because that would be like at the bottom of the pond if you pulled something out. But there's really no threat, and especially if we do it at a time in the summer when the water level is already lower and that area is dry to begin with, water would not rush out of the pond.
But I just want to be clear that I understand the reason that you want
It is to get the debris out of the way, yeah. They're trying to naturalize the area. A pipe sitting there, it's not natural. So yes, that is the reason.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I have a question, though.
Yep.
The PCV pipe was installed, I'm assuming, after the terracotta pipe. Is that correct?
I don't know. Paul, can you tell us, there's a time frame?
Because
I
I would
have
assume the
no
PCV...
idea when either pipe was installed.
Paul, not you, Paul.
Oh.
Paul on the, yeah, that Paul.
The PCV pipe was installed after the terracotta pipe? And was it installed because of the terracotta pipe was now clogged and not serving the purpose that they thought they wanted it to?
No, Paul on the screen.
Paul, you on the screen.
Oh, like I said, I was not here when the pipes were installed, when the bridge was built, so I can't really speak to that. I don't know which one was installed first. I would be guessing if I gave you a reason as to why the PVC pipe was installed, if it was installed after or before, but I would probably guess the porcelain pipe was put in there when they put the bridge in. But like I said, I don't have that information, so I don't, that'd be me guessing.
Now, Paul Taggart, do you know? Yeah, come up.
You have to come
If
up.
you know, I know you know the area.
The PVC pipe was installed when the footbridge was installed, so that was about the early 90s.
Okay.
And the PVC pipe is an overflow pipe.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's what
And
And the
its
terracotta
purpose is.
pipe was put in
The terracotta pipe's been there
Forever.
Forever, yeah.
Before the bridge?
Before the bridge, yes,
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I would think that the PCV pipe got put in because the terracotta pipe filled up and was no longer serving as a drainage.
Terracotta pipe is just lets the flow go from the the PVC pipe lets the overflow.
Okay.
The terracotta pipe is below that level, it lets the water go into the creek.
I don't think we don't hear, I don't see that in the numbers.
No, that's reflected in the numbers. The terracotta pipe is at elevation 8 something,
Okay,
and the
8 something
PVC
is
pipe
at
is
9.
at 9.9.
Right.
Okay. All right.
Other than the fact that they want to remove it because it isn't natural, is there any problem with leaving it there?
No? Maybe it's
Thank you,
been
Paul.
there, it's,
Thank you, Paul.
I think their overall goal is to return it back to a natural state, and, they accomplish that by removing a pipe that was placed in by someone.
All right, any other questions? Are you ready to close the hearing? I can't do it.
Close the hearing, somebody's got their hand up.
I just want to make one last comment, because I want to make one last comment, because when Josh referred to the terracotta pipe as being crushed, water is flowing through it as we speak. It's broken on the end, but it is not blocked. Water does go through it. It is functioning. It's just that it's embedded in materials which effectively are the dam. Once that pipe gets moved, the material that's holding it back is going to, as you know, water flowing washes away dirt and small stones, and it's going to wash out, and the channel will get bigger and bigger, and the pond will get smaller. So a guarantee that the pond will stay would be sufficient to all our concerns, but I don't know how that is
I think the only way
executed.
that could happen is if the terracotta pipe stays.
Correct. But it isn't,
What I'm
it's not
hearing.
crushed in that it's not functioning, it is functioning. I just wanted to correct that.
Tell me again, Josh, the terracotta pipe is higher in the ground than the PVC?
No, lower.
It's lower.
So, I guess another way to look at this is if you can see where my cursor is, the pond here, the bottom of it is at elevation average 1, okay? The terracotta pipe is at elevation 8 point something, whatever that number is, and then your PVC pipe over here is at elevation 9. So I look at this terracotta pipe and I say that this side of the bridge is at elevation, 8 point something along with the pipe. So even if, this part of the ground was to wash away, you would still be left somewhere at elevation 8 point something, and the pond would still remain, the pond would only ever drain to elevation 8 point something on a large storm event.
And and most of the year, it's not that high.
I can't
Only
speak
now.
to that. I think maybe you guys can.
Most of the time, there is no water flowing under that bridge, is that correct?
Right,
Okay.
it's low.
Right.
All right,
We've had a lot of water this winter.
yeah,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
But to sit here and believe that, if this side of the bridge was at elevation 1,
Yes,
I
can
think you would all agree that the water rushing through there would then create a valley that would allow the entire pond to drain. I do not see that as a possibility in this scenario.
Okay. So, now we'll try, we didn't close the hearing.
Not yet.
So I have, nobody else, then let's close.
Move to close the hearing. We need a second.
I need a
Second.
second, thank you. I have a motion to close the hearing and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is closed, 500. Now, if I understand, let me take a shot at this. Standard order of conditions, remove the 12-inch pipe when there has been no water flowing under the bridge. No machinery for removing the bridge or the pipe, and a small bobcat to remove the stones and rebuild the banking of the drainage ditch. The cutting of the 3-inch PVC pipe it's just cosmetic, so it no longer appears under the walkway, under the path. Is that what I'm hearing, folks?
Well,
On-
don't agree with that to the extent of removing the terracotta pipe.
Then you can vote no.
Correct.
So that, someone make that motion?
Before we do, if we're gonna vote the same way, but we do want to approve some of the project, but not all of it,
Then we come back and do with another motion. So the motion is to remove the 12-inch pipe after it has been dry and no longer flowing of water, and the rest of it stands. So that is, I need someone to make that motion. I have no motion.
I'm not gonna do it because I don't
No,
agree.
I just,
So,
no, I have no second. No one made the motion, and I have no second, so that doesn't hold.
so Denise, I think you have a motion that it sounds like Jessica may agree with.
That we have the standard order of conditions, no machinery for removal. They can cut the PCV pipe for cosmetic reasons. The Bobcat can be used only in the area where they're doing the crossings for the turtles or wildlife or whatever, but the terracotta pipe is not to be touched.
I'll second
That
it.
is the motion, that's the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm voting against it regardless.
Yep.
Oh, I thought it was,
Yes, I hear that, so I'm going to poll. Jessica?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
Sandy? No. Michael?
no.
Kwame?
Aye.
Okay. That motion has been,
320.
yep. So the pipe stays. Okay? Nothing gets done until you get your paperwork from Josh.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good night, Paul.
You too.
So that was the last one. Now we go down to certification of compliance request.
Yes, okay. So, 67 Jefferson Shores Road, requesting a certificate of compliance. Their certificate is, they did not do the work, they do not plan on doing the work, they just want to close out the order. When they first came in front of the commission for this project, the commission had concerns about a retaining wall and some area that needed to be replanted. That has since taken place, and my recommendation is to issue the certificate of compliance. And here are the photos of the removal of the retaining wall and the plants that were planted under, I guess it was an enforcement
It was an
order.
enforcement order to make that modification.
So, yep, so I'd say he completed his enforcement order, and the certificate of compliance is to close out the project where no work had been completed.
They were
And-
going to remove the house, and they changed their mind.
Yep, so they'll still have to remove the hay bale and the siltation barrier, but my recommendation is to issue the certificate of compliance.
I need a so
Oh,
moved.
so moved.
I need a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Next one, amended order of conditions for the Richardson Family Trust at 122, and we'll do 124 at the same time. I guess you're up. I'm surprised you didn't fall asleep on us. Please identify yourself.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bob Rogers, GAF Engineering, on behalf of the applicants. Both of these came in originally and received orders of conditions with the exact same design, and now we're coming back and asking for an amended order just based on the client's request. The original approved design, so it was vinyl sheet piling to go right in front of existing concrete walls that are failing, and they had requested that the cap of the vinyl sheet pile be, I guess, between 1 and 2 feet lower than the existing concrete wall. There was a product vinyl sheet pile that we selected that they don't make anymore, and they, both of these applicants got feedback from DEP and Chapter 91 that indicated that the new sheet pile was too far outward from the existing concrete wall to qualify for a modification to their existing licenses. And so the three things that we did was to specify a new product, composite 9900 is the specific product. And we are matching the cap on the vinyl sheet pile with the top of the existing concrete wall. And we have pulled in the sheet pile and the cap so that now it's a maximum of 18 inches outward, as the approval allowed for 24 inches. So it's those three items for each of these two properties. We did notify abutters, and we did pay the fee, and there was a legal ad.
I see no issue with the amended order conditions that are being requested on 122 Pinehurst Drive or 124 Pinehurst Drive.
Okay, Kwame, questions?
Hi, Bob. I have no questions.
Michael?
Thank you, sir.
None?
Denise?
Is this the same, did you do the one over on, by Hamilton, going to Hamilton Beach, the wall there where they did that garage? I think it's the same type of thing that you're describing. It's absolutely beautiful the way it's been done.
Okay, it's not ringing
I'm
a bell
sure
with me
you did
right
it,
now, but
right? If it's absolutely beautiful, you must have done it.
they don't let me out of the office, so if it looks beautiful on a plan, that's as far as I get.
Okay, yeah, no, I've seen this done, and it really has a nice finish to it. So I have no questions.
Jessica?
No questions.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
So all that material that has dropped and fallen on the ground on the beach has to be removed in order to put the sheet pile in 18 inches as opposed to 24, right?
Yeah, there's a note on the plan that says to remove as much of that as possible prior
okay.
to the installation.
Because it's nasty. Okay, so, anything else? If not, it's not a hearing, so I need approval to accept the amended order.
Motion to accept the amended order of conditions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500.
Thank you so much.
On both of them.
They don't let you out of the office?
Okay.
These night meetings, yeah, never to go to the beach in July and look at a seawall or a groin or a jetty.
Well, the one over that they've done on the way to Hamilton is absolutely gorgeous.
We
Have a
have,
great
Good night, Bob.
I know we have a discussion with electronic submissions, et cetera, but before we do that, I received a email from Nicole this afternoon. She is resigning. So she will be submitting her resignation into the town. Unfortunately, work does not allow her to participate in a committee such as this, so wanted to let you know. Now, Josh, the rest of it's yours.
Okay, so I'll keep this short and sweet. I'm sure everyone's ready to get home. In trying to make the town run more efficiently, we're going to be moving to an electronic submittal requirements. This will allow for projects to be tied to properties, and there will be no more running down to the basement to look up old projects, and there will be no more reaching out to the building department or, and I know zoning and planning plan to do the same thing as us, so it'll just create, more cohesion? Yeah, anyway.
Cohesive.
Yeah, it will be better for the town.
It'll be better.
So, quickly looking at the town website, I've made a few changes to the Conservation Department website. The Conservation Department and the Commission had almost identical pages. They were, it just didn't make sense to have two almost identical, so I've created one that both of the links that are now tied to. And, when applicants come in, they will be able to click on the online permitting tool. And, it'll push them to, where they can submit all their plans.
That's great.
So this will allow the public to look up plans, and this will allow the commission to have access to plans in the field as well. So
Is this live?
this is live.
So if I push on notice of intent,
There's nothing there yet.
No, it describes the notice of intent, what the submittal requirements are.
okay,
I've changed, we will require 3 hard copies of the plan. That will allow you folks to come in and get a plan if you want to take it out with you on a site. And then it goes into our fee schedule. And
Okay.
then, I could walk you through the application process.
no, I
but
don't think so.
I think.
Not at 9:10.
Went out, went out and looked at this.
What
thing.
I'll finish this with saying is I suggest you all come in to get set up with the new software. It will require creating an account, and I can walk you through, how to use it. So at your convenience, let me know. And
So I can use it on any equipment?
It is web-based, so you can pull it up on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, your Kindle, maybe. I don't know if
My
Kindle
tower.
has. Yes, or your home desktop. Yes, you can, review all this stuff from home.
Looks great.
So I guess what I'm looking for is a vote from the commission to change our submittal requirements starting May 1st to all applications will be required to be submitted online, and 3 hard copies of a plan along with payment will be sent to the department.
And if somebody cannot, paper is still allowable if someone does not have computer access.
So what I'll say is we cannot condition that everyone needs to apply online. So
Okay,
if someone
all right.
comes in with a paper application, we still have to accept it.
All right, so,
So moved.
so I have a motion?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Got it.
Opposed, 500.
Perfect.
Go for it.
Already done.
You already have.
I went, I
Do you
got
have
in
minutes from
today.
April 5th?
I believe I sent them. Did I not send them? If I didn't send them, we will continue that to the next hearing.
Okay, because I don't remember receiving it, and I know Denise, you're very good at doing the minutes.
I don't remember doing me.
All right, then maybe I didn't send them out, and if I didn't, that's my mistake. I apologize, and they'll be in the next email.
I really don't know.
Anything else?
I
Trish, were you
swear
here
to
for a
it.
particular reason, other than,
I was here to look at all your beautiful faces and be here as the liaison because I haven't been here for a while.
okay.
So
And I should show up before you think I dropped dead or something.
our website actually shows Judith as our liaison, so I will have that updated.
No, Judy is the,
Co-liaisons is, I think we were on it.
Judy's liaison.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right, then.
What I would say, whether I'm a liaison now or not, or chief bottle washer, is I really like what you're doing, but what I'd love to see.
You know, Trish, you're gonna have to come up to the mic. Mr. White's yelling at me.
Oh, sorry, Bob.
So what I'll say is, I really like what you're doing, whether I'm here as a liaison or a Board of Selectmen member or a citizen. I would encourage you to put out notes to any committees that are similar to yours or who might interface with you, as well as put out press so that the public knows that this is starting to happen, versus them trying to follow the old rules and not know what they should be doing.
Good point.
Well, maybe next time BOS, not town meeting time, you can indicate to them that we're now taking electronic submissions of all our
Yeah,
projects.
in fact, Sandy, I'd love to have that happen right after the election, so it'll either be me or someone else. But it would be helpful to have actually the name of the software and where and how people reach it, so when the BOS talks about it, we're actually giving people some further direction.
I would be more than happy to attend one of the meetings and give a description of what we're trying to do. It is the exact same software that Inspectional Services already uses, so it's
They
not
do.
something new to the town.
So he brought it in recently?
I don't know
think
how
it's been-
long they've been using
but
their online
it's
platform.
being used.
At least a couple of years, I imagine.
So We will request time on the agenda to talk about this change.
I think that's great, because it sounds like a really good change, and it's just letting people know that it exists and that that's how they should start thinking and looking.
Yeah, and, as far as applicants go, I don't foresee every one of them starting to use this process starting May 1st. I'm sure I'm gonna have to coach
Yeah.
many of them through it,
Your
so.
engineers, I think, can be on.
Start with the engineers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of them are already familiar with it, working with the building department and other municipalities. Bourne is a big user of this, and to be honest, I stole a lot of our applications from Provincetown.
I love
so-
stealing from
Yeah,
wherever
I mean,
has it.
I wasn't looking to recreate the wheel
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Repurposing.
We didn't steal.
There's nothing else. It's 9:15, folks.
Move to close the
Adjourn.
hearing.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
9:15. Good night and thank you.